It is important for me to begin my response to this incredible honour by paying my respects and reverence to the time immemorial custodians of this land, the Boon Wurrung peoples, and thank you, Andy, for your welcome to country. It is a privilege to be able to be a guest here. I am so grateful for the ongoing care for country of the Kulin Nation. Their sovereignty stands at the heart of everything we talk about tonight. I'm grateful to have been a guest on this country for the last 2 years. This place has provided me with safety and community, as it has done so for generations of Aboriginal people from other nations for decades. For years, I have heard sovereign black women in the Victorian Aboriginal community speak of the erasure of their work by outsiders, and as such, I don't step into this place neutrally simply by virtue of being an Aboriginal woman. I want to place an emphasis on that custodianship, on that care for community. This is stolen land and it is sovereign country, and it always will be. It is an astonishing honour to be standing here before you tonight to accept this prize. Given such a brilliant and formally ambitious list in such an incredible year for publishing, I really didn't think Dropbear would get a look in. I wrote my strange little book, which began with the experience of rattling through Dad's shed to remind myself of the stories I'd grown up with, and now here we are. It is beyond comprehension for me to see it here alongside phenomenal works of political critique in the long list, such as Chelsea Water Goes Another Day in the Colony, or beautifully lyrical interweavings of history and culture, such as Elfish Iasaki's Homecoming. I wrote this book from a place that was centrally moved by the work of women within, against, and beyond the archive of the settler colony. Every opportunity, every prize, every publication, every success of my career has borne the touch of women, but especially of black women, and they have made my presence here possible. The landscape I work in was built by their energy and in many cases their sacrifice. I will spend my life searching for ways to thank them for what they've given to generations of storytellers such as myself, far more than can ever be distilled into one speech. That said, I was always taught that care for country was more so about reciprocity and we care as others have cared for us. We seek to provide what has been provided. So standing here tonight with this great honour in a room full of such distinguished people, I'd like to take a moment to speak about the urgent necessity of proper funding for the arts. I'm going to take a soapbox for a second, guys. The last 2.5 years have demonstrated the power of mutual aid in crises and the clear, tangible and irrefutable social benefit provided by the arts community. From the Authors for Fireys campaign, in which Australian writers auctioned off their books to raise over $500,000 for bushfire relief and recovery, to more recently when the Koori Mail has been leading wide-scale disaster relief across flood-devastated Bundjalung country, providing food and blankets and medical supplies and even places to sleep for stranded families. All of this while the police was camped outside of devastated communities with speed traps booking drivers for overdue registrations. Our arts sector is punching well above its weight for mutual aid, advocacy for human rights and for the environment, and as a voice for fundamental human dignity. But as we all know, the arts are only sustained, and they are barely sustained, by unpaid labour, by struggle and sacrifice of artists and arts workers who accept punishing and finally untenable working conditions for love and for passion. To speak from my own experience for a moment, 1 year ago, I was about as broke as I had ever been. I was a published author, I was working 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I'd gone to university, I'd moved 900 kilometres away from my family in search of better economic prospects, and my partner and I were living in incredibly strained circumstances even so. At the start of the pandemic, our incomes halved in an instant. We lost teaching, we lost events, we lost contracts for projects we'd spent months, even years building towards. Most postgraduates or early career researchers we knew dropped out or retrained when it became apparent that the university sector, where so many artists are employed as educators, would not be included in federal or state support initiatives. When the terms of support packages were rewritten 4 times to exclude tertiary education, while already wealthy corporations pocketed millions of taxpayers' dollars. When artists were told we could drain our already scant superannuation funds to keep us from ending up homeless. I doubt we will ever know how much the arts lost during those few years. Artists in this country anyway are used to instability. We're used to 2 or 3 jobs, we're used to paltry super, the constant fear of illness and accident faced by all precarious workers. We are used to living one paycheck away from poverty. Despite this slap in the face, this blunt dismissal of the clear social and cultural good the arts provides to all Australians, artists were still advocating and organising throughout the pandemic and the fires and the floods. They were still working through the isolation of endless lockdowns in the hope that their creative efforts, their work would help someone else survive. This is not sustainable and it never has been. The structure of this produces mass inequality of representation and will continue to restrict access for creatives from working class and marginalised contexts. We can do better than this. We can build diverse, democratic and vibrant arts and education cultures with a dignified basic income, with long-term stable funding for community organisations and professional development programs, with bargaining codes and consultations and policies to protect our rights and safety. We can do this collectively. We can mobilise our arts sector and let artists and educators do what they do best. Make art that speaks truth to power, that bears witness to suffering and that demands justice. Many of the artists in this room have done so on nothing, on no funding. I am honoured to win this prize, I truly am. It means my partner and I can pay back some of our HECS debts, can spend some time at home with our loved ones, can scale down from 3 to 2 jobs and for a while at least have something like a weekend. I don't want the dignity and the peace that this prize provides to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a handful of lucky ones. If you hold legislative influence, I beg you, if you work in government or philanthropy or any other position of power, I beg you to think about the responsibility that you bear to your community and the influence that you might possibly lead as we go into an election. The arts is also a part of our culture. It is our culture of storytelling. It is how we care for country, and I beg you to care for it back. Stepping off the soapbox. Stepping off the soapbox a little bit. I am so grateful to so many people who have made Dropbear and my being here possible. Thank you, of course, to the Stella Prize, to the judging panel, to the supporters and the sponsors. Thank you to the Black people in the room, whether you be writers or advocates or teachers or my family. Thank you for being Black and deadly. I am blessed to be guided by the incredible wisdom of Black women, Janine, Shalar, Melissa. I watch how you work and lead, and I am constantly humbled by it. Thank you, Ellen van Nieuwen, for taking my hand with this story, Aviva and the UQP crew for transforming it into what it has become. Thank you forever and ever and ever to my parents and my family. I adore you. Last, never least, and I shouldn't be ending with a dude, but thank you to Jonathan. You are just the strangest, most eccentric, effervescent creature in the world, and you supported me through all of this. Wouldn't be here without you, and I wouldn't want to be. Yeah. Okay, I'm done.